It's so gross. Bombardier, the perpetual corporate welfare bum, they just got $1 billion from Quebec taxpayers to bail them out of their failing C-Series jet. So Joe Lunchbucket has to cough up $1 billion to help a multi-billion-dollar jet company because they can't run their own affairs. That's Quebec taxpayers who are giving $1 billion to a failing jet company instead of to hospitals or schools or police or roads. But really a lot of that money comes from Alberta and Saskatchewan and BC too because of equalization payments. But you know, they're so bad at running their company at Bombardier. That $1 billion from Quebec just wasn't enough. So they wrung another $372 million out of Ottawa. And by Ottawa, I mean, yeah, your federal tax dollars. You know, Bombardier is pretty bad at making planes. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's their core expertise. Their core expertise is lobbying Quebec Liberals in Quebec City and in Ottawa to get them to give them free cash. They're not a technology company. They're a lobbying company. They're grifters. They're bums. But look, there are different ways to be grifters. You can be modest and humble and even polite when you beg. You can say thank you to the taxpayers, I mean, not to Trudeau with political donations. I mean, they'd never give bribes to the Quebec Liberals. I mean, it's not like the Liberals have a history of corruption from mad scam to, well, since the beginning of time. No. The Liberals would never accept a bribe, and Bombardier would never offer a bribe. That Bombardier official arrested for bribery in Sweden just 2 weeks ago, I am absolutely sure that does not reflect Bombardier's corporate culture. Oh, and the corruption probe of Bombardier in South Africa, I'm sure it's much ado about nothing. Oh, and the Dutch executive for Bombardier, sure, he was fired in a bribery scandal, but he literally said, I am not a crook. So you know he's not a crook. No way, no chance. Oh, and the accusations in South Korea of Bombardier's corruption? Look, people, there's a clear pattern here of not crookedness. I mean, these guys are as ethical as any Quebec Liberals. Oh, and here's Bombardier being investigated for corruption in Azerbaijan. How bad you gotta get when Azerbaijan says, ooh, the way they do business. Yeah, it's a corruption-free country, isn't it? It's the Switzerland of Central Asia. How dare they imply that Bombardier would be corrupt? No, I won't hear of it. If you think that a Quebec company has engaged in anything untoward with the Quebec Liberals, and with Justin Trudeau in particular, you are super wrong. And you know you can trust Justin Trudeau, because if Bombardier ever tried to bribe him, say like giving him free private jet flights in their planes or giving him a $100,000 vacation on a private island like the Aga Khan did, you just know that Justin Trudeau would say, no, sir, I am not that kind of a man. And he would go straight to the media to reveal the corruption and give all the relevant facts to the RCMP. Look, these are honest men, and they honestly need your money. Except they're laying off employees by the thousands. They're eliminating 7,500 jobs, including 2,000 jobs in Canada. Hang on, shouldn't they at least spare Canadian jobs? I mean, $1 billion from Quebec taxpayers and $372 million from Canadian taxpayers. That's almost $1.4 billion in taxpayers' money, and that's just in the last year. So if you divide that into the 2,000 jobs they're killing, that works out to $700,000 per job. Isn't that enough to save those jobs? I mean, even $100,000 per job is probably enough to save them, right? Where is all that money going if not to save Canadian jobs? I mean, wasn't that the whole entire rationale here? It's not a bribe. So it's got to be job creation or at least saving jobs. Isn't $700,000 enough to save a job? Well, that's what's so exciting here. If you're Mexican, see, Bombardier really believes in Mexicans, and why not? They work for less than Canadians do, less than Quebecers do. So Bombardier is taking Canadian money, laying off Canadian jobs, but hiring in Mexico, entire new plants. Here, let me quote. Bombardier still aims to outsource jobs as it seeks bailout from Ottawa. Say, don't you wish your prime minister had, written a book called The Art of the Deal and had maybe negotiated something in his life other than how to get someone else to always pick up the dinner tab? Could you imagine Even as Trudeau was negotiating with Bombardier how much money he was going to give, Bombardier was boasting that they were going to move to Mexico. And yet Trudeau kept negotiating how much money he was going to give them. He kept at it. He's that dumb. It's got to be dumb, because we just know in our bones that Quebec Liberals would never take a bribe and Bombardier would never pay one. So it's not that. Hey, look at this. Look at this website. This is a Bombardier website. It's hard to see, but in the top right there, which is helpfully available in both Spanish and English, this website on Bombardier's website, jobs in Mexico at Bombardier. And look at the rest of the page. Look at all those jobs. Production supervisor, engineer for welding, stress engineer, quality inspector, programmer, material logistics agent. And look at all the dates. Do you see the dates on the right-hand side there? They are literally putting up a new help wanted ad for great jobs every day. I think Bombardier's motto might actually be, make Mexico great again. I mean, did you see all those great jobs? Oh, and Bombardier has jobs in China too. Jobs, and China is a customer of Bombardier, including for its C-Series jets that were the subject of the Canadian bailout. So when you're giving money to Bombardier, and I mean you, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, you're not only giving jobs to China, you're subsidizing Chinese airlines. That's what a bailout means. Bombardier isn't very good at making airplanes, at least not ones that anyone will buy, so they need billions of dollars to subsidize their planes so that China will grudgingly buy them. Are you subsidizing China there or Bombardier? Well, with Justin Trudeau, the happy answer is both. Bombardier and China is sort of the perfect combination for Trudeau, two of his favorite things. And no bribes, people. Never, ever, 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 ever. Don't say that. If Bombardier happens to build the Communist Party's strategic railway right into Tibet to help colonize Tibet and serve as a military and strategic undermining of that country, well, I mean, look, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's Trudeau's favorite country.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
Oh, he's so dreamy. So yeah, billions of dollars from Canadian taxpayers to a failing Quebec company that absolutely never, never, never does any bribing. And it's as a gift from Quebec Liberals who never, ever, ever take any bribes. And in return, Bombardier will lay off at least 2,000 workers in Canada. So that's 2,000 families. That's basically an entire town. They're now unemployed. But Mexico and China will do just fine. There's the handshake with the Mexican president. Bit awkward, but that's okay. Look at all the love there between Trudeau and Mexico. They're getting those good jobs. Pretty different approach than Donald Trump takes, isn't it? Donald Trump loves airplane companies too. He loves automobile companies. He loves train companies. Here is Donald Trump wearing an I love trucks pin just the other day. Isn't that interesting? Here he is driving a super big truck. I'll admit he looks a little bit silly. You know what? That goofy guy driving that truck, he has pressured heavy industries to reinvest tens of billions of dollars in new factories in America. No bailouts needed, no bribes needed. It's sort of tough to bribe a guy who's worth $10 billion anyways, but what would companies even bribe him to do? He's not giving them anything. He's not giving them bailouts. He's getting them to put their money into factories. He's not using taxpayers' money. He's threatening them that if they try and pull a Bombardier, if they do their manufacturing in Mexico, he'll tax those Mexican products so hard they won't be able to import it into the United States. That's what Trump's doing. Yeah, he is helping these heavy industries in a way, in an important way. He's helping them by cutting taxes and cutting regulations. But that's to the benefit of all companies and all Americans. He's not giving handouts. He's just making America great again. He's not making China great again. He's not making Mexico great again like Trudeau is. Here's Donald Trump threatening GM, one of the biggest companies in America. General Motors is sending Mexican-made model of Chevy Cruze to U.S. car dealers, tax-free across border. Make in USA or pay big border tax. Wouldn't it be nice to have a prime minister like that instead of one who gives Bombardier free money to build factories in foreign countries and hire them instead of Canadians? Oh, and hey, is it a good idea for the Canadian government to be giving unfair subsidies to Canadian heavy industry to outcompete their US competitors? Well, I'm sure Bombardier thinks so, but what do you think Boeing or Lockheed or Gulfstream think of this subsidy for Bombardier's jets? Is this a good time to be messing with NAFTA, tempting Donald Trump to retaliate? You think it's a good idea to risk our access to the US market because you want to feather the nest of your Quebec pals at Bombardier? I mean, it's not like Donald Trump has shown any hostility to lopsided trade deals that protect other countries to the detriment of America. He hasn't shown any of that, has he? Yeah. Look, so far everything I've said is all outrageous, but none of it is really new. What's really new is this: after Bombardier executives got all that money, after Bombardier fired all those Canadians, they then gave themselves a huge bonus with our money. Let me read the first 3 lines from this story. Bombardier's senior executives saw their compensation rise by nearly 50% last year at a time when it laid off thousands of workers, sought government aid, and saw the first C-Series passenger jet take flight. Total compensation for the Montreal-based company's top 5 executives and board chairman, Pierre Beaudoin, was $32.6 million, up from $21.9 million the year before, according to a proxy circular ahead of its May 11th annual meeting. CEO Alain Bellemare received $9.5 million, up from $6.4 million in 2015, including $5.2 million in share and option-based awards and a $1 million salary, unquote. Okay, that's a lot of quoting, but that's what they did with the money. As we've said before, Bombardier as a company is a failure. It needs constant bailouts. They're bums. They are hobos. They wouldn't get customers if it weren't highly subsidized. It is a steaming hot mess. But Bombardier makes out like bandits. 50% bonuses? But that's all fine? That's the Trudeau way. That's the Quebec Liberal way. Why is that a problem to Trudeau? That's how Trudeau rolls. He cut child benefits for the middle class, but then he put 2 of his own private nannies on the taxpayer dime. He inherited tens of millions of dollars from his father's trust fund. He could pay for a nanny or 2 or 3 on his own, but he is entitled to his entitlements. He's getting while the getting is good. So why shouldn't the rest of his pals? Trudeau knows the Liberal way, spread it around. He didn't just go to that secret Bahamas private island vacation on his own. He brought his Liberal pals with him. He spread the wealth around. Same thing here. I mean, you know the rules.
You're trying to say that entitlements, I'm not entitled to my entitlements. No, I am entitled to my entitlements.
If the Bombardier boys want to wet their beaks a little, they're all good Liberals. And after all, you know, that is the free market.
We respect the free market and the choices that companies will make, but we also have a responsibility to ensure that the investments we make with taxpayer dollars are leading to good jobs and growth.
That's the free market, people, a company that is a perpetual corporate welfare case, a company that couldn't sell its planes without a bailout, a perpetual beggar. But it's the free market, how they gorge on bonuses. Yeah, not when that last $1.4 billion came from us, you trust fund dandy. Pay it back. Pay it back, you corporate thugs. Pay it back, you welfare bums. Pay it back. Cough it up, you liberal extortionists. Pay the money back. We've got a new website. We've got one in French that my colleague Eric Duhem is doing. That's called BombardierRembourse.com, which means Bombardier reimburse it, pay it back. In English, our petition is BombardierPayUsBack.com. Bombardier Pay Us Back. We will deliver this petition to Pierre Beaudoin, Bombardier's chairman. He was the one who got $32.6 million. Oh, and that's in US dollars. That's more than $42 million Canadian for 1 year's work. That's our money. Pay it back, you bum. Visit BombardierPayUsBack.com. Sign the petition because they're corrupt, just like Trudeau is. but also sign it out of self-respect. That's your money. Hey, if you like that, sign up for my show every day. Click on the screen to subscribe.